Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, ladies. Today we're talking about crystals for the Earth Star chakra. So who's excited about that? I know I am. So there are tons and tons of crystals, and I'm going to share some of the ones I have with you and briefly just talk about how you can work with them for the Earth Star chakra. I really wanted to do this video as a live stream, but that's not going to happen this week. Thanks, Facebook. So I'm recording it for you guys, but either way, giving you the information, right? So when we're talking about the Earth Star chakra and we're talking about grounding and how the Earth Star chakra is essentially our light body, our magnetic imprint upon the earth, right? So it's the reason, it's the program, it's the karmic imprint. It holds, the limits of our boundaries in this place, this time, space, continuum that we're held to in the third dimension, in the physical realm. It holds this boundary. It holds the lessons of this life, right? So there are some who say the Earth Star chakra is, in astrological terms, it's basically the physical imprint of our natal chart. Okay, so that's where all of that information would be stored. So if we took our natal chart and we're like, oh, okay, here we go, all of that information is going to be energetically stored in the Earth Star chakra. So if you guys remember in last session, how I mentioned, and I mentioned it sometimes when talking about the chakras, how when we know our natal chart details or, sort of our astrological makeup, and we understand ourselves on this level of where our strengths lie, where maybe our challenge areas lie, what tendencies we sort of lean towards based on our blueprint. That way, we can work with our chakras to help us, balance these tendencies that we might lean towards, right? Does that make sense to you guys? So this is where that information would be stored in the Earth Star chakra. So when we think about how we are connected to the earth, but in this day and age, we're so scattered, right? We're creatures of the earth, we're humans. The earth is what gives us birth. But in the 21st century, we're living our lives so scattered. We're so influenced by electronics, right? On a day-to-day basis, we're always on the electronics. This stuff scatters us, it scrambles us, and it ungrounds us, right? The pace that we live our life also ungrounds us. So one of the most powerful things we can do, especially while we are, working in meditation, is we can enhance that by working with crystals. I mean, you guys know that. So it's like I always say, we can't get the crystals and expect that the crystals are just going to do the work for us. We have to do some work as well. So the thing is that when we can remember that, life on earth is meant to be a test, right? It's questions, it's challenges, it's ups, it's downs, it's road bumps, it's detours. And, we're tested and tested and tested, and we get given lessons and lessons and lessons. And we just have to work through it, and we have to do what we can to, strive beyond the programming, to improve ourselves, to become what we're meant to be beyond the limitations of this, to connect with the self, because at this point, so many of us are so disconnected from the self, in the true form of the self, not the ego self, right? To better our lives and accept where we are, and then that allows us to, in turn, give that to others, right? So when we understand the value of each one of our own individual journey and our own individual gifts. And this comes back to that card I'm always pulling in that deck that I use, that sacred ecosystem card, right? So when we can all identify the value in our own unique path, that's something that we can work with in connecting with and stimulating the Earth Star chakra. But it has to start with ourselves. So if we can't understand our own value and our own unique path, right, how are we ever going to get to that place where we can create that for everybody else too, right? So this is where we can start to clear blockages here in the acceptance of ourselves for who and what we are. Flaws and all, hug your chaos, right? So when we increase our acceptance in ourselves, that in turn manifests as increasing our acceptance in others, right? And we talked about this as we talked about the solar plexus chakra, because we discussed, the harsh judgment. And when we're very harsh judges of ourselves, we're judging others, right? So when we can sort of tap into our potential for this, which is going to be the extreme opposite of that fear-based paradigm we see operating so much in the world, that's when we're really starting to access our true potential, right? That's when we really start to access what we are beyond this limited physical existence. And when we accept who and what we are in the physical realm in this life, that is exactly what is going to free the light body. If you guys remember in our class, I talked about creating that environment that was safe and secure enough for the true essence of the soul to shine through and manifest, right? For the light body to be able to come forth. That's exactly how we work to create that environment, by that extreme divine self-acceptance, because then we also extreme divine self-accept in others too, right? Right. So I'm really excited to talk about crystals, because I have a ton of crystals for the Earth Star chakras. I'm looking at them all down here. You guys see all those? We're getting top crystals. So of course, if I asked you guys, one of the first ones I'm sure some of you would say is smoky quartz. We all know smoky quartz. So this is going to go smoky quartz. If you guys have ever seen black quartz or Mauryan quartz, where there's so much carbon in it, it's turned black. Tibetan quartz. So this here, if you guys can see, this quartz has some very dark carbon deposits. I love this piece. It also has a little tantric on it. But you guys see all the gray is going to be carbon, right? This is a little Tibetan chunk. And this one's a smoky quartz. This is one of my favorites. This is one of my first crystals that I ever got to. I was so drawn to smoky quartz, and now I understand why, before I ever knew much about crystals. So any of these type of quartz crystals are going to be very powerful for our grounding, for transmutation, right? For just overall connection with the earth element. They bring wonderful, gentle, healing energies to the space. They help align, because it's so deeply connected with the deep energies of the earth. It helps align the energetic flow of our body, which is exactly what we're doing when we're working with the chakras, right? And if we don't have a strong foundation, how are we going to keep all of the above chakras balanced, right? Right. Another one is going to be black tourmaline. So this is a black tourmaline sphere, actually. And black tourmaline is really, really good for protection. And it's a powerful grounding stone, quite electrical in nature. And it provides a very strong connection between the earth and the human spirit. And that's exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about the Earth Star chakra, is this connection through our physical self and our light body, the full nature of who and what we are. So black tourmaline is going to be powerful. Black tourmaline is a super supportive stone. It brings a nice, gentle, supportive energy that aligns the energy centers of the body and channels healing light throughout the system. So again, it's going to be another powerful one for, overall connection down from the Earth Star chakra up through the other chakras and overall healing and balance. One of the more that you don't hear about, these are quite ugly. These are boji stones, and these are really awesome to use in body layouts to clear all of the chakras and to balance the male and female energies of the body. So these I always use in crystal healings, well, most of the time, like 90% of the time. And you have a male stone. See this guy, the bumpy, and then you have a female stone. And the interesting thing about working with these is that now you can use them on the side. So I could use the female on the left side, the male on the right side, or I could swap them if I was trying to bring activate female energy more, I could work with the male stone on the left side. And if I'm trying to tone down the male energy more, I could work with the female stone on that side, right? Or, if you're working with another area of the body where you're trying to bring in maybe some, love or yin energy, healing, compassion, you could place the female stone on that area and the male stone on another area where maybe you're trying to create some action and movement and stuff like that, right? So the Boji stones come in pairs, like I said, one male, one female, and they're very helpful for healing emotional problems as well. And the interesting thing about these is that I read that they are powerful to clear hypnotic commands that may have been implanted at an earlier time. And I love that because you guys know how I feel about, mind programming and advertising and how they work with our brain waves to implant, I need this, I want this, and to sort of basically control our minds. And I believe in that. So Boji stones are cool because they can clear out some of that stuff. These little guys also create a really strong connection to the earth. And they also help in taking excess energy down from the root Muladhara chakra down to the earth star chakra. So if you're someone who is struggling to kind of tone down your Muladhara energy of your root chakra, you can work with Boji stones to help draw that energy down into the earth star where it can be discharged and transmuted by Mother Earth, and then, come back to us as neutral, calmer, gentler energy, right? So those are really fun. They're different and they're fun. Every time I whip them out, people are always like, ooh, what are those? Because you don't see them very often. They're not so pretty as some other crystals. So sometimes people get really into the prettier ones, right? So our little ugly Boji stones get overlooked sometimes. Another one, which I don't have with me, but is important for me to ask or mention, I have it in the RV, is black kyanite. Now you guys are familiar with black kyanite. Very protective, good for transmutation. It doesn't need to be cleansed. It's self-cleansing. Very deeply connected to the earth element too on the deepest levels. So that's one you can use you can place your other stones on black kyanite to clear them, right? So like you smudge your stones, you can also place them on black kyanite to clear them of whatever energies you've been working with. Hey guys, keep in mind, this is not the end-all, be-all of the crystals. There's tons and tons because the Earth Star Chakra is so deep in the earth and crystals are our little babies from the earth. Keep in mind that there are tons and tons and tons of stones. These are just the ones that I'm more familiar with, that I have in my collection and that I work with, that I wanted to show you guys. And we have Navajo sandstone. This is like art, and you guys have seen it. It's a little bit like picture jasper, or some of those jaspers that you see. But if you can see, the rough, texture of it, it actually looks like, it's sand. And sandstone is created by either wind or water. So it's often called a stone of creativity. And it's really good for strengthening relationships within groups. So this is a really good family stone, to strengthen your relationship dynamic in the home and also at work. And it's really going to be a powerful one if you get distracted during meditation. You can work with sandstone. This particular piece came from a little rock shop just outside of Zion in Utah, which is also one of the few places in the world where oh my God, really? You guys know the one that looks like the dragon egg with all the cracks. Now I have to look it up. Give me 1 second. Because I'm totally having a brain fart. Septarian. Oh my God, really? Septarian. Where Septarian comes from. So one of the few places in the world where Septarian is found. that's where this one comes from too. So Septarian, you know what? I didn't have that on my list, but now that I just mentioned it, also super powerful, because when you think about how Septarian is formed, it's literally formed in the earth and then it cracks, and then other minerals fill in the cracks, and you end up having this really amazing thing that looks like a dragon egg. And when you crack it open, it has the most beautiful black crystallized crystalline, like geode structure inside. Septarian is magical. So look that up if you guys haven't seen Septarian. But so sandstone can be really good if you get distracted during meditation. It's that grounding and gentle. And it can also really help with mood swings, temper tantrums, and it's just an uplifting, it's like sitting in the desert or sitting in the forest. It is an uplifting, powerful stone for really just bringing up our mood like we do when we connect with nature. Ooh, excuse me. Another one is going to be obsidian, of course. Damn it, I didn't grab my obsidian. That's okay. You guys have seen enough obsidian in your lifetime. So obsidian is wonderful for transformation, for protection, for shadow work, grounding, right? It absorbs negative energies. Pieces of obsidian used to be used for scrying because it's so smooth and clear. It's like glass. It's volcanic glass, right? So it literally is coming from the bowels of the earth, right? It's coming from deep within the earth, because then when the lava flows cool, you can find obsidian. And it's really, really wonderful for grounding and healing when you're doing the really deep, hard, challenging spiritual shadow work, right? Obsidian can help us release disharmony that is built up over our day-to-day life and our day-to-day patterns, right? So we always talk about patterns, guys, because I'm always talking about patterns, right? So obsidian can be really powerful for sort of dissolving the tensions that build up, the disharmony that we create. But of course, what's going to happen if we don't then address the behavior that's causing that disharmony? It's just going to come back. So it can be like the Band-Aid for it, right? But it can help kind of give us some space to work on what we need to work on without the things, the disharmony constantly being like, here, right? It's like the breath. And it also helps dissolve, resentment, fear, anger, and all of these things are emotions that arise at a very blocked, unbalanced lower chakras. So obsidian is going to be one of your power tools for this work. Now, brown tourmaline, also known as Jaravite, is another one. It is the deep brown, very dark form of tourmaline. Most of you guys are probably familiar with one or more of the various shades of tourmaline. But brown tourmaline, Jaravite, is a little bit more grounding, a little bit more sort of like the shadow brother of the bright little heart-centered tourmalines, right? We have pink tourmaline, we have green tourmaline, very heart-centered, black tourmaline, which is very protective. Brown tourmaline is going to be more soothing, calming, relaxing, and reassuring on the physical body. All right. And it's very powerful for integration after shamanic journey. So, you go into shamanic journey and you're way up here in these outer realms. Jaravite can be very powerful for bringing us back here because it has such a strong earth connection. It is also deeply cleansing energetically and helps us with physical stamina and emotional stamina and mental stamina when we're going through those so challenging situations that we often have to face, right, to do our work. The next one I want to talk about is magnetite, which I have some sage in there. Magical little, I hope you guys can see these. They're itty bitty, magical little magnetite octohedrons. Now, magnetite is cool. Can you guys see that? I'm looking at the camera. Yeah, okay. Making sure I'm holding it up right. These are cool because they're octahedrons, so they're, bring in the layer of sacred geometry as well, and, numerology. And, how much deeper of a connection can you get with the earth besides this, right? It's magnetic. They have powerful positive, negative polarity. And everything we're talking about when we talk about, the earth star chakra connecting us to the magnetic, core and inwards of the earth is exactly why magnetite's powerful for this. It also is, so it attracts and repels, and it energizes and sedates. So this is a stone of duality, right? We're always talking about duality as we work with the chakras. So magnetite is our dualistic best friend when it comes to this work. It's grounding. It brings temporary alignment to the chakras and the subtle and etheric bodies, which is important because if we don't have grounding in the subtle and etheric bodies, how are we ever going to create that environment for the light body, the soul essence to come to form, right? Because it's so grounding and healing and that deep connection with the deepest elements of the earth, when we're grounded in that space and we're clear in the moment, what ends up happening is that our clairvoyance, our telepathic abilities, our visualization skills, our meditation abilities all grow because we're not up here trapped in the chaos of an unbalanced mind. Okay, so when we're grounded and we're present in the moment, it actually strengthens our psychic abilities. So that's something magnetite helps with. And it's also going to help bring balanced perspectives into your life. Trust in your own intuition. It's going to help to alleviate negativity, right? Fear, anger, and grief again. So imagine working with something like dravite and magnetite together when you're really trying to work on dissolving those core issues of fear, of anger, of grief that get stored in our earth star and root chakras through these traumas that we've, inherited or lived through in past lives. So these two stones can be very powerful together working with these. And again, with the dravite, the magnetite brings, endurance and tenacity to give us the strength to go through this work. So if you're struggling to dive into those blocks, working with a stone like these can help. Another one that I have, my star garnets. I'm really attracted to my star garnets for the earth star chakra, something about them, the weight of garnet and just the way it feels. And I have these two little star garnets that I like to work with the earth star because garnet is so grounding. It's just so grounding, so vital, so nurturing, so powerful. So that's one you can use. Shungite. You guys know I love my shungite. I mentioned that in class. This is a rough piece of shungite. Shungite's powerful for transmutation, grounding, and detoxification. Now, when you take anything that's estimated to be 2 billion years old, right, it comes from Russia. Real shungite comes from the Shunga village near Russia, Karelia, Russia. And shungite is almost pure carbon. It's up in the upward 90s percentage being pure carbon. It gives a boost to the immune system. It improves your general overall health and vitality. It transmutes and shields from negativity. I use it in my water. It's said to purify water. And it is also said to absorb a lot of these electromagnetic waves that we expose ourselves to by constantly being using the electronics that can help unground us. So that's going to be powerful for grounding. Petrified wood, you guys, I mentioned this one to you guys in class, and here's just an awesome little slab of petrified wood for grounding, healing, connection to past life and ancestral memories. It carries an ancient energy, right? So it's really going to bring us to enhanced past life work. And when we're talking about the Earth Star Chakra, we can't really not talk about past life work. We can't not talk about ancestral karma and stuff like that, that deep stuff. So you guys, the different colors that you see in petrified wood arise from the different minerals that got caught up. Because it is when wood crystallizes, the quartz is what's coming in to crystallize it. But whatever else is present adds to all the colors. That's why you can see so many various colors when you see petrified wood. Petrified wood is wonderful for patience because when you have a blocked earth star or root chakra, you may tend towards impatience. So that's going to help open this up. It helps us understand how to allow life to evolve in perfection. And I love that because when I say perfection, I mean, the imperfectly flawed perfection of who we are, because we're not perfect and we're never going to be perfect. But on the paradoxical side of that, we're all perfect in our flawed imperfections. Aha! You guys like that? So petrified wood is going to be powerful for that. It's going to bring you grounding energies. that will encourage us to live life as a spiritual being within this physical realm. Now, how often do I talk about that, right? Remembering to be spiritual in the physical realm, and then remembering our physical self as we grow spiritually. So that's why I love petrified wood is my number one stone for the Earth Star chakra. All right, then we have Udilite. Now, Udilite is powerful because it embodies, this is another one, I think it comes from somewhere in Russia as well. So can you guys see that? I have 2 pieces of Udilite in a necklace wire wrap. The wire is kind of taking away from it. And pop it out of there and show you guys. Yes, I can. I think. So there we go. Udilite is nice because it embodies and connects us to the pink ray of the heart, but also the deeper red ray of the lower chakras. So it connects our spirituality with our physical existence. And I love that because I was really attracted to Udilite before I had any idea what it was. And I was still working at my last job, and they came in with all this Udilite, and I was like, oh yes, that I must have some of that. So I was able to add some to my collection in jewelry form. And when I started to learn about it, I loved that it does that. It connects the spirituality with the physical existence, because everything that I'm always talking about to you guys and teaching you guys through working with the chakras is this balance between spiritual and physical. So also Udilite, because sometimes whatever we're dealing with, whatever our lesson is, whatever our healing is connected to situation based in a past life healing. Udilite can help us, guide us on the journey to find out what it is and connect with what it is that we need to connect with in order to heal and release that past life trauma, so that we have a greater understanding to what is currently happening, because then we can release it, right? For me, I had this person in my life who was someone I was close to. I was close to her, and her husband just absolutely, he just pushed my buttons to no extreme. He was just everything, a narcissist, a jerk, just, right? And he triggered the shit out of me, and he continued to trigger the shit out of me long after I didn't have any more interactions with them. And it came to me as Chris and I were sitting at the top of the Great Basin National Park in Nevada, which is interesting because that is a very ancient place as well. So we're sitting there, and it was the full moon, and we were camping there, and this guy sort of popped up out of nowhere, and he commented on something Chris had posted on Facebook. And he commented as if to be like, ha, 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 I'm watching you. And I was absolutely irate. I sat up for hours that night, and I wrote about 5 different Facebook posts ripping this guy a new asshole. And I didn't post any of them, right? But that was just sort of part of my process. So through the writing, I was able to just sort of release some of the anger. And then I said, okay, let me sit with this. Let me sit with why I'm so triggered by this man. And it came to me that he was completely responsible for one of my deaths in a past life that I connected with on my ayahuasca journey. So in my ayahuasca journey, I connected with a past life in Northern Ireland where I was being chased, and they were trying to put me to death for my beliefs. And I had green dress, long red hair, and I threw myself off of those rock formations that you see up there in northeastern Ireland, or northwestern Ireland, Giant's Causeway. And I threw myself off the cliffs instead of letting them get me to behead me. They wanted to behead me because I would not give up my beliefs, and they were hunting me as a witch, and he was the person who was responsible for this. So the moment I connected with this, I had this gut-wrenching knot in my stomach that literally pulled out of my body. And since then, I'm no longer triggered by this person. I sat with that, and I breathed through it, and I did Ho'oponopono on it, and I'm free from it. And I mean, I know it can sound crazy sometimes to some people. It would have sounded crazy to me 5 years ago if you told me this story. I would have been like, yeah, right. But it's real. And you know what? All summer long, I have been wearing my Udilite. So I figured I would share that with you guys. Pretty awesome, right? Excuse me. Lastly, guys, one more I want to mention is our orthoceras. So if you guys can see, right, all of these little white formations in here, this is an orthoceras sphere. And all of these little white formations are fossils. And this is an orthoceras wand. This is actually Chris's. You guys see these are ancient fossils of fucking billion-year-old sea creatures. I mean, it's mind-blowing that they're here. They're in rock. And we can work with them. I mean, how much more deeply connected can you get to the Earth Star chakra than something like orthoceras and petrified wood and, you know, anything that's a fossil. So there are tons of fossils out there, guys. Anything that's a fossil is going to be super powerful, super magical for working with the Earth Star chakra. So now how you can work with crystals for the Earth Star chakra, there's a few different ways. So I love the idea of, you know, sitting and creating a circle. So if you have, you know, a little collection of something like petrified wood and magnetite and smoky quartz, you could create a grid around yourself. You could create a grid out of you could get one of those grids, like I have those grid things that have like flower of life or whatever. You could create a simple grid. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. You know, you get your nice little generator or sphere at the center. Oh, and also, guys, tourmalinated, anything tourmalinated. So if you guys can see the tourmalinations in this generator, and there's also a lot of lodolite and stuff, which is also deep earth element stuff. Something like this, you could put this in the center. You could have 4 little magnetite octahedrons around it. You could have smoky quartz around it. Anything, you know, create a grid around yourself. If you wanted to lay down, you would want to grid sort of around your hip area, around your pelvic area, because below you is where the Earth Star chakra is going to be, right? So we have some chakras that are in our physical body, and if we lay down, oh, okay, now my heart chakra is here, but if I'm standing up, you know, now it's here. Now the Earth Star is a little bit trickier because it is you know, underneath the earth. So even if we lay down, it's not coming up above and then lying 6 inches above the earth. It's going to always be beneath the earth. So you can create a circle or create a grid around yourself, right? If you have a wand and you're laying down, you know, maybe you want to place that down somewhere around your hip area. Place it on your root chakra even too, because think about, so if you're laying down and I know I'm like moving around, you guys can see me. If you're laying down, right? So say this is me laying down, and right here is my hip area and my root chakra. And I want to work with something for the Earth Star chakra. I can place this on my root with the intention of it working on the Earth Star. And it doesn't have to be complicated, guys. If you're working with some spheres, you know, you can hold them with your hands placed down by your sides, down by your hips, with the intention of the grounding. You can body grid. So you can, anything you're body gridding along your lower chakras, you know, you can, if you're working with something like Udiolite, you can grid between your heart and your root with the intention of it also connecting to your Earth Star. You can sleep with the crystals under your pillow that you want to work with. You can carry them in your pocket. You can carry them in your bra. Yeah, these are, if you have, you know, if you have a certain area where you want to go outside and work and you want to dig a little hole and bury, you know, put them in a little baggie, bury them in the earth where you're going to sit on top of them as they're buried under the earth and work with them that way. That's something really, you know, just creative and different, right? Could try something like that. And besides, crystals love being buried in the earth for a little bit. Just don't bury them too deep. You might lose them. The earth might swallow them up. So I do hope you guys enjoyed that. I really enjoyed, we've been, you know, back and forth at my mom's, so I haven't had all my crystals out. So it's been a pleasure to have these out and visit with my little babies. So anything you guys have questions on, feel free to post in the group. Let's chat. Let's discuss. I would love, 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 love to hear what crystals are your favorite that you're finding and connecting to and coming with to work with the Earth Star chakra. So thank you guys for spending this time on your healing. Much love, and I'll see you guys soon.